Hello everyone, and welcome to attempt number 2 to launch Starship SN8 to 12.5 kilometer altitude. Sorry I'm a little late getting the stream started today. We're still a little while from a possible launch. We've already got Starship pressurization, the tank farm is venting, recondenser and SN8 venting. Apparently we had some SN8 venting. I don't see Starship currently venting, but we still need Raptor chill, and which is where you see the condensation, the clouds coming off of the bottom of the rocket, and we still need reports of that siren that marks the 10 minutes to launch. So it looks like SpaceX is targeting a 4 p.m. Eastern Time launch. That's 9 p.m. GMT, which is in 36 minutes. So it looks like that's what they're targeting. First of all, I would like to give a big shout out to LabPadre and his crack team of commentators. These views of the launch pad are provided by LabPadre. You should definitely go subscribe to their channel. And yeah, welcome everyone. I'm kind of pulled in different directions today. I was just upstairs trying to help my daughter with some pesky math homework, trying to solve equations that I haven't had to deal with in about 30 years, so doing what I can. Bennu, he's around here somewhere. I don't think he's under my chair right now, but he might come in at some point. So, yes, a note about asking questions. If you have a question, please make sure to tag my name, raw space, so that I'm sure to just say raw space or at raw space, and that will highlight my name for me so that I see it in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer your question. Please do not spread misinformation or unverified information. Do not say it is scrubbed or standing down for the day or whatever. Don't say anything that has not been officially verified. Like if Elon or SpaceX tweets that they're standing down for the day, then fine. Then say that so-and-so has tweeted that they're standing down for the day. But you need to cite the source. If you just say scrubbed, then you're probably going to get kicked or at least have your comment removed, because we can't allow, potential misinformation from flourishing in the chat. And that applies to everybody, even me. So, Marcio Cumplido, I did notice some discussion a little while ago regarding a scrub. I mean, SpaceX has, so yesterday we knew that SpaceX was going to broadcast their own launch attempt on their own channel, which I will be bringing you again today if we get to that point. But because they created their stream and it was publicly viewable early. Well, today they didn't create the stream ahead of time. It is created now. So SpaceX does plan to broadcast their launch attempt, and that stream is scheduled for 32 minutes from now. So usually what SpaceX does is they schedule their stream for the time of the attempted launch. So we can derive from that they are going to try launching at approximately 4 p.m. Eastern Time, or 3 p.m. Boca Chica time, which is in 32 minutes. So, John Petty, Raw Space, do you think the belly flop maneuver will work today? I sure hope so. Elon has said that he only considers there to be a 1/3 chance of everything, of them meeting all mission objectives with this test launch. But Musk is famous for predicting failure, or rather expecting failure and being pleasantly surprised. So, I sure hope it works. I mean, they've got the greatest engineers and the greatest rocket engineers in the world there. So hopefully the belly flop maneuver does exactly what it's supposed to do. I presume that they have done extensive atmospheric aerodynamics modeling in the computer that and they do a pretty good job of translating the theoretical engineering designs into practical physical pieces of hardware. But it does take iteration. It takes trial and error. Well, not just trial and error, but trial and failure and fixing and trial and failure and fixing and trial and success. So according to what we heard earlier from LabPadre, there are either one or two NASA airplanes that are scheduled to take off about right now, and the anticipation is that they're going to be doing some sort of flyby or something of the launch, presumably at altitude. I don't know if we're going to be getting any camera views from those NASA planes, or if they're going to be doing some sort of analysis or using their sensors to gather some data about the flight. I'm not sure. But QU1K89, do they do scale model testing too, or only simulation? I don't think I've ever seen like a wind tunnel Starship model, anything like that. But it's possible. If they do that, then I don't think they've been public about it, because I haven't seen anything. Edmund Lai, no, this is not a joke. This is a test. And as such, they will execute it on their own time, and only when they feel that everything is ready. TOE, what is the thermal camera looking at? So let me switch over to that view for myself. What we're seeing is the warm vertical little tic-tacs in the middle are the black fuel tanks that we see in the NerdleCam, the LabPadre NerdleCam there. The blue horizontal sort of bars in the middle are, I think, the long white tanks. And then you can just kind of barely see the outline of Starship to the right of those. It's from the same perspective. The two views, the visual view and the thermal view, are from the same. We're viewing from the same tower, so the orientation is going to be the same. So, but what you can tell from the thermal view is that as far as heat signatures, Starship is pretty much the same temperature as the background, pretty much the same temperature as the surrounding, as the background. So, yeah. All right. Ken and Lucas, what is today's payload? A new Tesla model. So this isn't headed for orbit. This is headed for 12.5 kilometers, at which point it's going to tilt into I don't have any insider information from SpaceX, but presumably it's going to tilt into a simulation of an orbital re-entry trajectory and use its flaps or fins or canards to aerodynamically control its descent, and then hopefully reorient back, flip back vertical and land propulsively on the landing pad. That's the goal. Again, they are not terribly confident that all of those mission objectives will be met today, but that's why they have multiple SN iterations ready to go. There's SN8, SN11, SN9, SN11. I'm not sure where 10 is, but they have multiple starships in various states of construction at the site down the road at their assembly facility. Hey, Drew from Space Intelligence. Edmund Lai does not have Russian rocket engines. These are Starship is all SpaceX. It's a SpaceX body and SpaceX Raptor engines that it has. The landing pad is located not very far from the launch pad, maybe a couple hundred meters. I forget the exact distance. Westhuizen Archives. Is there any way for SpaceX to recover if the hop doesn't go nominal or at worst damaged or destroyed? So the worst case scenario would probably be, it could blow up on the pad, which is unlikely, but if it did blow up on the pad, that would of course cause extensive damage to the launch pad. It's actually farther away from the tanks than it looks in this view. So it shouldn't affect the tank farm. If it did manage to somehow ignite the fuel in the fuel tanks and blow up the whole tank farm, obviously SpaceX would have months of reconstruction to deal with. But hopefully that doesn't happen. But I suppose the worst damage that could be done is if it ascended to a height of 12.5 kilometers and then torpedoed straight back down in an uncontrolled manner and plowed right into the launch pad, which would obliterate it. But that's highly unlikely, because its flight profile is designed just like with all SpaceX launches, like with the Falcon 9. The return flight profile is designed such that if something goes wrong, and it just ballistically falls back down to the Earth, it lands in the water, not on the launch pad. It actually redirects itself, sort of scoots sideways to the launch pad close to landing, so that to minimize the risk to the pad. Austin Amarias. I am a space enthusiast. I enjoy space, and I enjoy bringing space to you guys, y'all. I do not know everything. I'm not a rocket expert. I am not even a space expert beyond what I've learned from just having had an interest in the field. I'm a software developer by trade, so, and I'm not afraid to say I don't know. I say I don't know all the time, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, I mean, if you want the absolute expert opinion, you'd have to talk to somebody at SpaceX, and they are not available for comment, nor would they be at liberty to discuss it with you because of non-disclosure agreements. They would lose their jobs and possibly get sued. So what you've got is me and streamers like me, many of whom are in fact more knowledgeable about rocket technology and engineering, but you choose where you would like to see your content. So if you like what this channel offers, then stick around. Canon Lucas, will we have sonic boom today? So when Falcon 9 first stages come back down for landing, they produce a series of 6 sonic booms. Bup, 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 bup. And those are the different elements of the sonic booms from different parts of the rocket. I think it's there's 2 sets of 3 sonic booms for Falcon Heavy. There's just the 3 sonic booms for Falcon 9, and I think that corresponds with the base of the rocket and the 2 grid fins, I think, are what are producing those booms. I could be mistaken, but I think those are the 3 elements that are producing those sonic booms. I don't know. Let's see. Free falling from 12.5 kilometers is not quite the same as free falling from orbit or from whatever, because the Falcon 9 booster re-enters Earth's atmosphere at about 3,500 miles per hour, which is quite fast, whereas Starship is going to be beginning its descent from 12.5 kilometers from a speed of 0 miles per hour, because it goes up, it stops, reorients, comes back down. So I do not know if we'll be getting any sonic booms. I guess we'll have to wait and see. John Petty, how loud will SN8 be? Pretty loud, I imagine. I mean, the 3 Raptor engines produce almost as much thrust as the 9 Merlin engines on a Falcon 9. So, yeah, any orbital class rocket launch is going to be very loud because it's producing a huge amount of concentrated power. Alan Coker, you're a software developer? What causes lagging in videos? Lots of things can cause lag. My computer could be bogged down. There could be some rogue process or antivirus or whatever interfering with my transmission of the video, or the buffer could be too short. Because I'm doing a Q&A, I have the buffer trimmed down to about 10 seconds, whereas the default video buffer is about 30 seconds. So there's not as much buffer to absorb any interference in the video stream on your end. So sometimes there's an issue with YouTube receiving the data, so sometimes the problem is YouTube. There could be an issue with YouTube on the other end, streaming the data down to you. There could be an issue somewhere in the cloud between YouTube and you. There could be an issue with your connection, or it could be your computer. Any point from my camera to your screen could be causing lag. Well, I should say my camera to your CPU or your GPU. So Scuffed said, imagine falling from 12.5 kilometers into a pool and belly flopping. I mean, whether you're falling from 12.5 kilometers or 1,000 feet, whatever the altitude is, I mean, you're still going to be limited by terminal velocity based on the surface area, your mass and the surface area that you're presenting to the air that you're passing through. So once you've hit terminal velocity, it doesn't matter what height you're falling from, you're not going to go faster than that. But yeah, from 12.5 kilometers would be quite a free fall. Only a couple people have actually 12. What is a normal height for skydiving? I don't even know, but I don't think it's that high. And then Felix Baumgartner fell from, I don't even remember. "31 kilometers." So Felix Baumgartner fell from 31 kilometers in altitude, from the Red Bull, space jump thing. Yep, so we can see on the thermal cam that the bottom of the Starship is getting colder, meaning there's fuel in there, because it's the fuel that's cold, the methane and the oxygen. There's also a visible frost ring in the main view. If you see about halfway up, a little more than halfway up the rear fins, you can see a frost ring. And we have Raptor chill reported by LabPadre about 6 minutes ago. Rockin' Robbins, what does the launch profile look like? So obviously this is not an orbital launch. This is a suborbital launch to an altitude of 12.5 kilometers. I don't have any inside information on specifically what the profile will look like. I mean, for example, I don't know if they're going to aim off to the side so that they can sort of come in diagonally, or if they're just going to go straight up and then come straight back down. Because if they're re-entering, like they're trying to test the aerodynamic control surfaces, those fins on the top and bottom. That's the purpose of the belly flop maneuver, is to test those fins in atmospheric, flight. But a re-entry, as we discussed, is very different from what they'll be doing here. They're going to be re-entering at incredible speed, whereas this test is starting at 0 kilometers per hour, which also equals 0 miles per hour. So I don't know if, again, they're going to be dropping straight down, or if they're going to be trying to go sideways or whatever so they can come in at an angle. If I had to guess, I would say essentially straight up and then essentially straight back down. But we'll have to wait and see. Ginger Ninja, the meme you posted last night. Off the top of my head, if I saw it, I'm sure I liked it. Off the top of my head, I don't recall what meme that was. Ian Pedlar, do I have any audio from the site? The only audio I currently have from the site until we get the SpaceX feed, because once SpaceX fires up their broadcast, I will switch over to that pretty much immediately and stop commentating at that point. So you can see the pure, feed from SpaceX. And so you won't need to go anywhere for that. I will have that available for you on this stream. Currently, before SpaceX goes live, the only audio that I have from the site is coming from LabPadre. And per my agreement with Lab, I don't include their audio, which would also include their commentator, their commentary from their internal folks, as well as guest commentators. Like I think they had Scott Manley in there today commentating on their stream, which is really cool. But I don't play the Lab audio. I also don't play the Lab content full screen. You notice there's a border around it. That's why. That's per our agreement. But they're very generous in allowing me to sort of piggyback on their coverage so that I can have something to show you while I'm doing my own commentary. Emily or Emile Tikelar says the siren text disappeared again. Yeah, they removed the siren checkbox item from the live status list. I don't know if like yesterday, I don't remember if there was a siren or not, actually. I don't remember hearing anyone say that there was a siren. Because normally there's people sort of lurking in multiple channels, and they report whenever anybody on any stream says that there's a siren. So Raptor Chill also got unchecked. I see that frost ring is very frosty and evaporating. So Lemzia, what happened to the Raptor Chill? It was unchecked. So again, that list, that checklist is not coming from SpaceX. That's coming from LabPadre. So since we don't have any mission control launch, whatever mission control center launch loop insider audio from SpaceX, all we have is what we see, and that includes what's happening at the launch pad, as well as any tweets that happen to be dropped by Elon or SpaceX, as well as, whether, like, for example, the creation of the SpaceX broadcast stream ahead of time gives us an idea when they plan to make the launch attempt. So we just have to use context clues to figure out what's going on, because unless it's a production mission, this is a test after all. Unless it's a production launch, we don't have access to all that behind-the-scenes information. Roger C., could it be mistaken for a nuclear launch? I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody knows that SN8 is launching from LabPadre today, so no, I don't think anybody would mistake it for a nuclear launch. Gray Wallace, if the siren does sound, then that means that we're within about 10 minutes of the launch attempt, yes. And you won't hear the siren on this stream, but you'll see people comment about it in the chat. There's been a siren. And so at this point, we're about 9 minutes away from the scheduled start of the SpaceX coverage, which could mean they might go live at any moment, in which case, when they do, I'm going to switch right over to them for you. Ian Pendlar, 12.5 kilometers equals 7.7 miles for we Americans over here. Tomas Borbeli. If that, you know what, wait, where are you from? Where are you from, Tomas? Is that Hungarian? I do not know how to pronounce Hungarian words. Wait a minute. Tamás Borbe. Okay. Thanks, Google. But I'm not going to say the... we had some issues in yesterday's stream where one of my kids accidentally turned off my stream lights by issuing a Google Home command. And I demonstrated that I can control my lights by voice, but I also activated a bunch of listeners' Google Homes by speaking the command, so I'm not going to do that again. Well, I might do that again for fun, but I'm not going to do it now. So, all right. So please let me know if this is correct. Tamás Borbe, is that roughly correct? Please let me know if at least the first name is correct, because I want to be able to pronounce names correctly. That's a sign of respect for people, and I think it's important to not butcher people's names when it can be avoided. Okay, we've got lots of venting coming from Starship. They're reporting Raptor chill again. Sam, I mean, phonetically, I would say Velasek, but is it Czech in origin? I forget. Valasech, maybe? I don't know. You'll have to tell me sometime. Tamaj, okay. I'll try to get it, I'll try to remember that. Let me look over at PredatorCam. Oh yes, we have lots of blue on PredatorCam, aka the thermal camera. Yeah, the cold exterior of Starship extends all the way up to, it looks like, all the way up to the top of that tank. I'm having visions of a very bad Batman movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Mr. Chill, or whatever his name was. If I'm missing any comments, I apologize. There's a lot of chat I'm trying to parse visually. It's always good to see people from all over the place here. We've got folks around the world. Not so much from, I don't know, do we have anybody from East Asia? Japan, Korea, China, Australia. Yep. Looks like SpaceX is going live, and we're at T-minus 6 minutes and 41 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to them for you. Do enjoy the launch attempt. Hopefully it gets off the ground today and accomplishes all mission objectives. Thank you so much for coming. Make sure to subscribe for events like this and other space-related stuff in the future. And I will come back online after the attempt, whether it's successful or not, to wrap it up. So, ta-ta for now, and let's cross our fingers, shall we?
T-minus 5 minutes.
Hold on countdown.
Hey everybody, just wanted to come on to give you an update on what's going on. So the countdown was proceeding, but they called a hold at about T-minus 2 minutes for reasons unknown. We don't hear the internal SpaceX audio, so we don't know why the hold was called, but all that means is that the countdown is paused. As indicated on the screen, the clock is paused. It does not mean that they have had a scrub. That does not mean that they're standing down. It just means that the clock is paused. So all we can do at this point is wait and see whether they are going to resume the countdown during this attempt or whether they need to take some time to cycle and make the attempt later today. They have almost 2 hours left in their launch window today before the TFR expires, which is the temporary flight restrictions registered with the FAA and the Federal Aviation Administration, and they are not allowed to launch outside that window. So if it goes past that time, then they'll have to, wait for another day, or they may announce that they are standing down for the day, in which case they'll probably try again tomorrow. Oh my gosh. Okay, Dennis, Raw, where are you from? I'm located in North Carolina, United States. John Hagen says somebody stated it was a range violation. Could be. That does happen. Boats wander into the exclusion area. Occasionally a pedestrian will sneak in, and if they are detected, then they have to hold the launch until that person is out of the exclusion zone. Airspace violation would be unlikely. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there are any planes in the area right now, and the exclusion zone for, the TFR coordinates, the area that's actually restricted for the TFR is not that big, and I don't think there's any planes flying overhead at this time. Okay, so I'm going to, there we go. Now my interface is responding. I neglected to turn on slow mode earlier, and I apologize for that because some people were doing some flooding of the chat, which is very unhelpful because people are trying to communicate, and the flooding of the chat with nonsense is disruptive. And I know this is the internet. People are going to misbehave wherever they can, but please try not to. So, let me take a look at that temporary flight restriction for you. To see, all right, so go to the TFR page, which I just linked in the chat. Select State Texas to narrow down the results. And we see Wednesday, December 9th. Click on that one. Extends from 1400 UTC to 2300 UTC. That's 6 p.m. Eastern Time, or 5 p.m. Boca Chica time, local time. If we look at the map, the exclusion zone for the TFR is just right around Boca Chica, South Padre Island. It's just within a few miles of that location. It's not a large exclusion area, so there's definitely not going to be any planes in there. And tomorrow's TFR, I think it has a different time. So there's actually TFRs for tomorrow and for the next day, so for Thursday and Friday. Tomorrow's TFR extends from 2 p.m. UTC or GMT to 11:30 p.m. GMT. So that's 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Fridays is the same, from 2 to 11:30 p.m. GMT, or from 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So if they don't manage to launch today, they still have opportunities tomorrow and the next day. And they can keep registering TFRs with the FAA for each 6 subsequent attempts. So they can, every day they fail to launch, they can just re-register a new TFR to give themselves another opportunity. Oh, okay. Yeah. I had a Twitter notification that was announcing the SpaceX live stream. So main SK, or MA1N SK. Hey Ra, don't you know why did it auto abort? No, we don't know. All we know is that a hold was called on the auto abort from yesterday. I haven't seen anything on that. There may be hidden in some forum somewhere, or on Reddit deep inside, the internets. There may be some, highly informed hypotheses. There may even be some insider information from some person that violated their non-disclosure contract. But I have no idea why the Raptor abort occurred yesterday, except from the name itself. Raptor abort implies that it was some sort of issue with the engine, or a sensor reading out of bounds or something. But there was, unfortunately, during this development process, we just don't have the insider information that and there's no particular motivation for SpaceX to provide that for us either, other than just to service the fans, I guess you could say. But whereas with a production mission, like everybody knows, this is a test launch. If it goes wrong, then oh well. It's SpaceX just has to rebuild and try again. But for a production launch, that's real money on the line. So in this shot we're looking at here, you can kind of see the separation between the tank farm and Starship and Hoppy. So Hoppy is actually on the other side of Starship from the tank farm, which I was not aware of. So from the ground view, it looks like, from the PredatorCam view, it looks like Hoppy is right there with the tanks, but it's not. It's actually quite a ways away, on the other side of Starship, of the launch pad. So that's cool. Fernando M is 20 miles away. Will I be able to see it? You will definitely be able to see it from 20 miles away. It's headed up to an altitude of 12.5 kilometers if it launches today. So just bear in mind, if you're local, if you're in the South Padre Island, Brownsville, whatever area, that there are up to a couple minutes of not lag, but buffering involved in the transmission from SpaceX to us, or from LabPadre to us, and from me to you. So if you're local, make sure you look to the skies a couple of minutes early. Maybe you can keep the audio on in the background, but yeah. Ian Pedlar, that's a good point. He says, the important thing to note is that there is no detanking. So if they were planning to stand down, we would expect detanking operations. And if we're not seeing that, then that implies that they are not planning to stand down at this time. Alexander, how many hours before launch? They could resume the count at any point. So unless they've announced officially that they are standing down, we can expect that they will attempt to resume the countdown, and that could happen at any time in between now and about an hour and a half from now. Russ Savage, can we see it from the Austin area? Well, let's see. KCJ Bomber FTW, thank you for that $4.99 donation. What happened to the thermal camera? That's the only thing that could give us info if it's launching. So here, let me throw up the PredatorCam. So the Starship view is coming from SpaceX, but the PredatorCam view is coming from LabPadre. And so thanks to LabPadre for that. Let me see, Wolfram. I don't think Wolfram knows where Boca Chica Village is, but I can try. You know what? I'm just going to use Google Maps. Hold on. What I'm trying to do is determine if the flight may be visible from Austin. So man, that's a long ways away. All right. Let me measure that distance. So the distance as the crow flies from the launch site to Austin is about 295 miles. And .5 kilometers is 7.8 miles approximately, 7.76 miles. And if we calculate the horizon from 7.76 miles in altitude, there's a lot of chat, so Nightbot's a little sluggish. 248 miles. So from the altitude that yeah, so from the altitude that this will be flying to, Austin will not be visible. That is to say, because of the curvature of the Earth, you will not be able to see Austin from Starship, which means you're not going to be able to see Starship from Austin, even if it goes to its target height of 12.5 kilometers. So there you go. Through the power of math. Ken and Lucas, does the SN8 keep the same fuel that they loaded yesterday, or is the fuel unloaded and renewed at every launch? So with liquid propellants, I mean with cryogenic propellants like this, they well, even not non-cryogenic propellants, like the RP-1 used in Falcon 9, they only keep fuel in the rocket when they're going to launch. If they're standing down, they detank the rocket. They remove the fuel and put it back in the storage tanks. And that's because the rocket is not designed to, like those. I just had a question pop up in my head. If this is their planned vehicle for interplanetary travel, then they've got to address the issue of cryogenic fuels needing to be vented, because if they're going to Mars with a Starship, and Starship uses liquid oxygen and liquid methane, both of which are cryogenic, and unless they are able to keep those fuels at cryogenic temperatures, they're going to warm up, they're going to vaporize, they're going to create pressure in the tanks, and they're going to rupture the tanks. That's a question I don't have the answer to, but it's intriguing. Nanoteller earphone. E-phone. Nanoteller e-phone. How do I get the thermal camera, and is it yours? The thermal camera view is coming from LabPadre, used with permission from them. Normally I would be showing the LabPadre view, but we've got this feed from SpaceX, so I've just got the thermal camera inset, the PixIn Pix, up at this time. Radio Nut R believes that the Mars trip is only one way. Ule Urorno asks, what's the price for one of these? Millions? I don't know. I mean, internal costs are going to be different than customer costs, and so I have no idea what SpaceX's internal costs are. And of course, the cost for developing systems is much higher than the cost for ongoing production and maintenance of those systems. Stan Killian, should be plenty cold in deep space. One would think, but due to solar radiation primarily, there's actually a lot of heat up there. There's a lot of radiation streaming from the sun. I mean, the sun is what heats up Earth, right? You go outside, you get a sunburn. Well, all that radiation is even more intense in space because you don't have the magnetosphere and the ozone layer and the atmosphere protecting spacecraft from all of the radiation that's streaming from the sun. And so the challenge with satellites and spacecraft is not so much cooling, but rather, is not so much heating, keeping them warm, but rather keeping them cool, because at least in the vicinity of the sun, even 92 million miles away or whatever we're at, you're still going to be constantly absorbing a great deal of radiation from the sun. And so dissipating that heat is why they do things like rotate spacecraft so that the sunward side can be absorbing radiation while the shaded side can be emitting that heat back out into space in the form of blackbody radiation. And that's why they have thermal dissipation panels on the space station. Like you see the long solar panels, but you also see these sort of zigzag white panels that are shorter. Those are actually basically cooling panels. They wick the heat away from the station and dissipate it into space. Pillow Feather, this is Russ-based talking, yes. Tig Rayhoff, to your last question, can they just change fuels freely? When you say change fuels, do you mean like change from methane to something else? No, that engine is designed to run on liquid methane. Or do you mean by changing fuels, do you mean like tank it and detank it? I mean, it's designed, the system, the vehicle is designed to be fueled and to be defueled as needed on the pad, so yes, they can do that. Daweed Mejza, is there people on board? No, this is not manned. Eventually, the plan is to 4:40 p.m. Central. That's 5:40 p.m. All right. You know what? Let me put that countdown timer on the screen.
Oh, safety.
There you go. Countdown timer. Nanoteller ePhone. Do you see a space tour as a possibility in the future, like you pay for a trip? I mean, that's what some of these companies are aiming for. I mean, that's the whole business model of Virgin Galactic with their Spaceship Two, as well as Blue Origin with New Shepard, which is not orbital, but well, neither of those are orbital. It just goes straight up and comes straight back down. Currently, Blue Origin conducts occasional research launches, launching of scientific research payloads up to space for just a brief few minutes of zero-G at a fraction of the cost of an orbital launch, because they don't need to achieve 17,000 miles per hour of orbital speed. They just go straight up and come straight back down. But there have been no humans on any of those launches yet, so maybe next year. We'll see. And theoretically, the plan from SpaceX is to eventually provide like joyrides or whatever, human launches, civilian launches on Crew Dragon, because it was designed to accommodate up to 7 people. In the NASA configuration, it only holds 4 people, but the vehicle's designed to accommodate up to 7. David Monahan, where did I say the thermal cam is coming from? The thermal cam is coming from LabPadre. Unfortunately, I don't have... Here, you know what? Let me, just to be clear, just so that I'm giving credit where credit is due, since I'm not showing the main LabPadre view, let me... add their name to the thermal camera caption, because there we go. Yeah, because with the if I were showing the Nerdle cam or Lab cam, whichever it is, instead of SpaceX's footage here, then you would see the credit to LabPadre on the side. But with just the PredatorCam over the SpaceX footage, you don't see that, so I added credit for LabPadre there. Pillow Feather, what do I think about the lakes on Mars? So, it was a few months ago, I guess. It was detected that there was apparently some sort of liquid water lake underneath the southern polar ice cap on Mars. That is intriguing. I think that's cool, and I think that if there's life anywhere on Mars, bacterial life or anything, that's one of the places it's likely to be, because life as we know it pretty much depends on liquid water. Wherever there is liquid water on Earth, there is life, and water is pretty much everywhere. Momoto and others, please avoid using all caps in your messages. If you use all capital letters, then Nightbot will boot you. Jay Koning, thank you for your compliment. I appreciate that. Actually, no less than two of my moderators are from the Netherlands. Mark Dezer and oh my gosh, my head. My brain is fuzzy. I'm so sorry. So if the fuel needs to be fresh, this is from Tig Greyhoff. So if the fuel needs to be fresh, they will need a fueling station there on Mars before they go there, right? I mean, this is just liquid oxygen and liquid methane, so it's not a matter of freshness. It's not like they're getting the fuel from the grocery store, and it's not some complicated, like, refined mixture, you know, like RP1 or whatever, that's going to separate and you know, whatever need to be remixed or refined or whatever. It's just oxygen and methane. So I don't think freshness is really an issue, so long as it's pure. It's not like polluted. William Pulin, why is your time counting down but not the time of SpaceX? That's because the SpaceX countdown was held at about T-minus 2 minutes. I am providing you with a countdown to SpaceX's stated new T0 time, which is 4:40 p.m. Central or 5:40 p.m. Eastern, 2240 UTC. Fenda, it's a little over 1 hour to the launch attempt. They don't have a full 2 hours yet. The TFR launch window only lasts until 6 p.m. Eastern or 11 p.m. GMT, which is in less than an hour and a half. So it's about an hour until their next launch attempt. Yeah, if you want to view the thermal camera full screen, then you're going to have to go to LabPadre, which I've linked them a few times. And they have their LabCam, their NerdleCam, their PredatorCam, their SapphireCam. They have a bunch of cameras on site in different locations, looking at different things. Hector Ramirez doesn't want to be a Karen, but he asks if I can move. No, that's not the right way. Oh, nope, that's the right way, but the microphone is in the way. Hey, there you go. So maybe I can slump. I could just take my face off the screen, but here, let me move the microphone down a little bit. There, you can kind of see the numbers. Midnight Sprint. SpaceX did not stop the launch yesterday. The launch attempt yesterday was automatically aborted, at t-minus 1 second, or 1.3 seconds approximately, by the system itself. The rocket shut down the launch at that time because of something it detected with the engine, and I don't know if it was a sensor reading out of range or what, but for whatever reason it detected an unacceptable condition and it automatically shut down the launch. Why doesn't the thermal cam show LOX? I mean, when you see if the LOX is in the tank, then the tank might appear cool. If the LOX, excuse me, if the LOX is in the rocket, oh my gosh. If the LOX is in the rocket, then the rocket can appear cool. Am I losing my voice? What's going on? Oh my gosh. This is ridiculous. Okay. Canon Lucas. You know what? I may need to take care of something here. I'll be back in a minute. Holy cow. Let me get the view ready for you. Oh, well, that was fun. Okay, I'm back. All right. What did I miss? Somebody said range violation. That seems likely. Range violations are pretty common in these mostly public, areas. I mean, they even happen at Kennedy Space Center, or Cape Canaveral, occasionally. It's almost always a boat that gets in the way. Just reading amusing comments. My voice loud enough? My mic's a little farther away now. Testing, yeah. Meter looks good, so. Transcode, watching from Chile. Do I need a beer to relax the voice? I've never tried a beer that I enjoyed. I've tried a variety of alcohol and I don't like the taste. Then again, I don't like the taste of coffee either without creamer and sugar, or cream and sugar. Ian Pedlar, it is very unlikely that I would die on a live stream. And if I did, I would have to come back and haunt my channel to apologize to my viewers, because that would be terribly traumatic to witness. Nanoteller ePhone, something flew across the screen. This is a coastal location. They're within a stone's throw of the Gulf of Mexico. Like, you can see the Gulf of Mexico in a lot of the camera shots. They're basically right next to the beach. So there's a lot of birds and other wildlife in the area. Ian Pedlar, it's not about liking the taste. Maybe. Sammy Yusuf, what happened? Wasn't it supposed to launch at 2240? Yeah, 2240 is in 54 minutes. That's 2240 UTC. You gotta bear in mind, Boca Chica, where this launch site is located, is in Texas. That's in the Central Time Zone. I am located in Eastern Time Zone, 1 hour ahead of that, 1 hour later. And UTC is 5 hours ahead of me. So 2230 UTC is 5:30 Eastern, which is where I am, and that is in 53 minutes and 30 seconds now, or yeah, approximately. Adam Lee, I don't think the birds could cause a problem with the launch. Like, you know, NASA's been launching from Florida for many decades, and the bird, it's not like there's a jet intake that can be interfered with by birds like an airplane. When you fire the rocket, the birds disappear. They're like, oh my gosh, get me out of here. Momoto, when Starship is used for beyond Earth orbit launches to Mars, the functioning of the overall expedition system will necessarily include propellant production on the Mars surface. Yes, just like Zubrin's Mars Direct, was it? Mars Express, Mars Direct. Mars Express was an orbiter, or was a probe. Mars Direct was Zubrin's plan, Robert Zubrin. Who, by the way, What About It, Felix Schlang, interviewed a few months ago, which was very cool that he interviewed Robert Zubrin. Anyway, that plan involved setting up, pre-placing systems on Mars that would generate fuel from the atmosphere, from the Martian atmosphere. And yeah, I think that'll be essential for future human travel to Mars. You want to pre-place everything you can before humans ever get there. That way, when they get there, it's ready to go. They're not just landing cold, as it were. DEMA, or DEMMA 1972. Will we see flying frogs? Flying frogs. No, I don't think so. Starship is made of rings of stainless steel that are welded together. It's really not much for a frog to hold on to. Whereas the Space Shuttle external fuel tank was made of orange foam, which provided lots of porous surfaces for a bat or a frog to hold on to. Actually, the frog didn't hold on to the rocket. The frog just jumped in front of the camera, didn't it? Isn't that what that was? So I suppose a frog could jump in front of the camera, but it would have to jump pretty high because the camera's elevated a ways off the ground. Transcode, by the way, thank you for that donation of 500 CLP. What is that? Oh, Chilean pesos, of course. Just didn't recognize the abbreviation. Edward Assange. My love for synthesizers brought me here, presumably because of the music that we play. The ambient, chill, trancey type, not trancey, but ambient-like music we play here involves a lot of synthesizers. John Sloan, sorry I just joined. What was the problem yesterday? The problem was that an automatic abort was triggered for some reason. We don't know what triggered the automatic abort, but there was a Raptor abort, and I presume that means that there was some sort of issue with one of the Raptor engines detecting an out of range sensor value or something like that. Zoltak 429 Starship very famously is made of stainless steel. It is not aluminum. Aluminum would not withstand the heat of re-entry like this alloy of stainless steel is designed to do. So, yeah, it's definitely stainless steel. An interesting factoid: the orange exterior of the Dragon 4... The Dragon, oh my gosh. I'm sorry, I think my cat's making noise in the background and it's distracting me. The orange boosters of the Delta 4 Heavy, which, by the way, will be launching tomorrow, hopefully, is essentially, and maybe exactly, the same material that was used on the external fuel tank of the space shuttle. That big orange tank. Evan McGregor says it's ANSI 301 steel. I also thought somebody said 307 earlier. Oh, 301L. Okay. I'm not a metallurgist. Rob Jackson, thank you for that donation. Much appreciated, of 35 ZAR. Oh, South African. Welcome. Very nice, or nicey. When is it going to take off? In approximately 46 minutes and 40 seconds. That's when the scheduled attempt is, according to SpaceX. Momoto says today's flight test will last 4 minutes. I presume that that's been calculated from the expected flight profile, ascent up to 12.5 kilometers and then descent down back to the pad. Well, 4 minutes is a lot longer than the hops that we've seen, the Star Hopper and the SN4 and 6, which 4 and 5, I forget which numbers did their hops earlier. Transcode, thank you again. That's very kind of you. Zero gravity drone photography. Can't wait to see this sucker launch. Nor can I. Latoya Thompson, where is it going? It's going straight up, approximately 12.5 kilometers or 7.7 miles. And it's going to come. So, for those of you either new to the stream or who didn't hear me earlier, basically what it's going to do is it's going to fly straight up. It's going to tilt to 12.5 kilometers. It's going to tilt and come back down using the pivotable flaps or fins, the canards at the top and the fins at the bottom of the spacecraft to aerodynamically control its descent back through the atmosphere. That's one of the purposes of one of the main purposes of this launch, is to test that system, as well as kicking back vertical and landing on the launch pad. I mean the landing pad, which is a short distance away from the launch pad. Gherkin Sisman, are you investing in space stocks? So there's no way to directly invest in SpaceX at this time. They're a privately held company. But what's interesting, perhaps ironic, is the best way to pretty much the only way that you can invest in SpaceX now, I mean, unless you actually work for them and provide them with, expert service that way, is to actually invest in Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google, because they own an approximately 10% stake, together with Fidelity Investments. Google owns about a 10% stake in SpaceX. Elon owns the lion's share, of course, but Elon Musk, but Google actually owns a sizable portion of SpaceX, so it's not a direct investment, but it's related. What I did actually finally get around to investing in is Tesla, even though unfortunately I did not catch it earlier this year when it was low, sub 100. But I did manage to grab some Tesla stock before the most recent increase, after it was announced that Tesla would be included in the S&P 500 index. I'm not a big investor, and I'm not a very effective investor. Almost everything I invest either doesn't go anywhere or goes down, which is why I generally am not too enthused about it. But I mean, I've had a Tesla now for about 2 years. I bought my Model 3 in 2018 in December, and if I had invested in Tesla at that time, like if I'd actually bought stock, then I'd be, well, not rich, but I would have had a bigger return for sure. But late to the party is better than completely absent. Mark Beacock, where is the proposed landing site in relation to the launch pad? It's a short distance away, maybe, I think, between 100 and 200 meters. It's not very far away. Zero gravity drone photography. How long have you been into this kind of stuff? I mean, I've been streaming space events since mid-2018, I guess. So 2.5 years. The channel started in early 2017 when I uploaded some videos from the Apollo 11 mission, specifically the Apollo 11 launch. But I've been interested in space for my whole life. I mean, so like when I was in 3rd grade, it was when the Challenger disaster happened, and I remember being interested in space even way back then. So I've always been a space guy, and like I was very fascinated 20 years ago, between 22 and 18 years ago, watching the construction of the space station. So the first module was placed into orbit 22 years ago, the Zarya module, or Zvezda. Oh shoot, got my names mixed up again. But anyway, the first module was put into orbit 22 years ago, and then they achieved, they started permanently habitating the space station 20 years ago. So, but it was fascinating to watch that be put together after the deorbiting of the Russian Mir space station, which, you know, at the time felt tragic because it was humanity's only outpost in space, and but then they built the ISS, and we've been there ever since. Okay, they've got their countdown running, so I'm going to remove my timer. I was just taking a moment to synchronize the timers. No, I don't really want to invest in Twitter. I don't want to invest in social media. That's yucky. Lemzia asks, why is the Starship venting off and on like it is, venting from approximately the middle of the ship? Take a look at the, not actually, I've got too many windows up. Well, that's not venting, that's a airplane in the background. So you see with some rockets, rhythmic venting, like poof, 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 and that just has to do with how that particular system, how that vehicle manages the, like you can imagine, the cryogenic fuel inside the craft is, it's not being maintained at a cryogenic temperature. It's always trying to heat up, and so it's always beginning to vaporize. And that vaporization creates a pressure inside the tank. And my guess is that they have some sort of automatic pressure activated release valve, so that when the pressure reaches a certain point, it poof releases some of that you know, gas into the atmosphere, which that super cold gas causes the moisture in the surrounding air to condense into the clouds that we see. So the clouds you're seeing are not actually oxygen or methane. They are they're actually clouds. They're atmospheric humidity that is condensing because of the cold gases that are being vented. Hello. Look who we have. It's Bennu again. Okay. Here. All right. Yeah? Okay, I'll let you down. I can never hold Bennu for more than a few seconds before he wriggles his way free. Bennu, by the way, if you don't already know, is named after asteroid Bennu, which OSIRIS-REx spacecraft just collected a sample from a few weeks ago. Celine Sharp, what time is the hop? The hop is at 4:45 p.m. Central Time, which is in about 40 minutes. My timer was about 5 minutes off. Now, the exact time is always a little dicey because there's sort of a variable buffer length between when I receive SpaceX's signal or LabPadre's signal and when that gets rebroadcast to you, so I have to, you know, adjust by a few seconds. But unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine is a great name for a cat. Just a reminder, please keep the chat clean. This is a family-friendly channel, so the double entendres are best left out of the chat. Thanks. Whoops. Also try to avoid caps because Nightbot will get you. I mean all caps. Avoid all caps. Celine Sharp, who is the guy with the black t-shirt? The guy with the black t-shirt that says SpaceX, can you see it? SpaceX, is raw space. That's me. So currently we're looking at views from SpaceX, that is the rocket and the blue sky in the background, and the inset thermal camera from LabPadre. Peter S. Nenu from Boulder, Colorado. Good to see you again. Zero gravity space snakes? No, I don't think there are snakes in space. There are not mice in space either, but there are fluffy blobs of solid oxygen that have been vented from the Merlin vacuum engine of a Falcon 9 upper stage. So, okay, so MC the ED says bring back the countdown. There is a countdown sort of behind my shoulder. You can see it 37:05, 37:04. I mean, I can remove myself from the video if you want, but you can see the numbers there, so. I'm kind of slouching so that so that I don't get in the way. That is a very cinematic view of the rocket, and I love it with the sun behind it. It's backlit, so you see sort of a halo glow around Starship. It's very nice. Well, of course, once the sun sets a little bit more and emerges from behind the rocket, it's going to be a big glare. But Ballistic Bear, do you have a community Discord? We sure do. I'll link it in the chat. Yep, we have a Discord, and we have voice chat channels, although it's hard to get people in there to actually voice chat. But we also have a lot of text chat channels where you can have more extended conversations, a little more with a little more looser rules than we have to impose here. Yes, I've got the countdown on my shoulders, bearing the weight of this launch with... What shoulder is this? Is that my left shoulder? That's my left shoulder. So shortly prior to the launch, I'm going to remove myself. I'm going to stop my commentary, and I'm going to remove the thermal cam because I want to get a pure, uninterrupted view of the. And I also don't know what kind of composition SpaceX's like cinematography composition SpaceX's view is going to have. You know, if the rocket might be off to the right side, I definitely don't want the thermal cam view to interfere with it. So if you want to see the thermal cam view of the actual launch, you can always go to LabPadre's channel and look at the replay of it, or keep it off to the side on another screen or something if you want. But I am going to remove the thermal cam view, aka PredatorCam, for the actual launch. The gas lantern core. Why doesn't Elon Musk appear in these test runs that's going on at the moment? Well, Elon's a busy guy, and sometimes he's in Boca Chica for a test. Sometimes he's in Hawthorne, California at SpaceX headquarters. Sometimes he's at the Cape. Sometimes he's conducting business elsewhere. He's a very busy guy. But so I'd like to point out in this engine, so we're looking from within the engine compartment at the bottom of the rocket. The engines are contained within this the skirt of the rocket, which will protect them on re-entry, because you don't want the engines sticking out where they're going to be experience atmospheric drag during re-entry of the rocket. So they're contained within the skirt, and in the view from behind the engines that we just saw, those 3 Raptor engines, you may have noticed the short, stubby little landing legs positioned around the circumference of the inside of the skirt. And those, what's going to happen is after the launch, as the rocket comes back down, those landing legs are going to just sort of bloop, flip down, and then the rocket's going to land on those legs. There was some discussion yesterday in the chat of what SpaceX's plans for the future, for like the final version of Starship, what the landing legs will look like in order to accommodate potentially uneven landing surfaces like on the moon or Mars. And I don't know. I mean, there could be some sort of hydraulics, or maybe they could be, the legs could be longer, or they could like extend in a different, like they could, instead of flipping out, maybe they could like sort of slide straight down or something and then cant out. I mean, I have no idea what their final design will be, but that's why this is so exciting. We don't know what they're going to come up with, but whatever it is sure to be clever, and it'll be fun to watch. Zaloga, Starship looks truly awful, really, doesn't it? I think you may be alone in that opinion around here. Most of us are a fan of the silvery look. I mean, and it looks a little bit rough now, but obviously this is not the final design. I mean, the final product. So, you know, they're not going to spend a great deal of time, effort, and expense in polishing the appearance of a test prototype vehicle. You know, the slick appearance will come later when they're actually in production. DustDB in LabPadre live status. Why were SN8 venting and Raptor chill unchecked? Because take a look at that view. I'm still seeing SN8 venting checked on their list, but even though I'm not actually seeing any venting from Starship, it's possible that they did a partial detanking or defueling, unfueling, anti-fueling of the rocket. It's possible they released some of that fuel back to the storage tanks. I don't know, but oops. Chris V, thanks for mentioning memberships. So if you like this sort of content, if you like rocket launches and you enjoy the content that Raw Space brings you, you have the option to become a member. You can see your name in green, and you get a little membership badge, smiley face thing next to your name, and you can use our custom emojis like the dab and the Bennu. We have a few custom emojis. YouTube is pretty stingy with those. They only, like, the number of custom emojis you're allowed to have depends on how many members you have. Not subscribers, but members. So I only have a few now, but the more members we get, the more I can provide for you. And do make sure to, so despite the fact that this stream has had up to about 3,000 viewers a little while ago, we only have about 600 and some likes, if what I'm seeing here is correct. Go ahead and click like to make sure to let YouTube know you appreciate the stream. That way YouTube will know to recommend it to others. The likes actually do algorithmically help the channel because they let YouTube know that the content is appreciated. And Quake 120, where did the display go that shows what stage of launch the rocket is at? So that list was coming from LabPadre, and they check the items off that list as best guess estimates. Like, they don't have any insider information from SpaceX on what SpaceX is doing, but they've observed many tests and many launches, well, many tests and the hops that we've seen thus far, and so they're quite familiar with what they expect to see in terms of a sequence of events: the tank farm venting, the Starship venting, the engine, the Raptor chill, and the siren, which indicates, the audible siren, which indicates that we're about 10 minutes from a launch. So they check those items off the list as they see them, but at this point we don't really need that list because we have an actual countdown timer from SpaceX. So Dema or Diema 1972 asks, why is the rocket so short and fat? So this rocket is a bit shorter than Falcon 9. Falcon 9 is a little over 200 feet tall, and this one is about 160. So it's about a little over 40 feet shorter than Falcon 9, but it is fatter. So the the fatter design will allow them to accommodate much larger payloads, and it'll also allow them to accommodate many more engines with the Super Heavy, because remember, Starship, what we're seeing here, is only the second stage of the launch system. The first stage is going to be Super Heavy, the Super Heavy booster, which instead of just 3 Raptor engines will contain approximately like 27. So yeah, the bigger design allows a lot more thrust, a lot more engines, and a lot more payload capacity, which is what they're aiming for. Brendan Coffee, if you're falling asleep, you can take a 25-minute cat nap, but that's about it. Any longer than that, you're going to miss it. Or you're going to miss something. We're not sure what you're going to miss, but you're going to miss something. Kevin Garneau, it's my pleasure. And by the way, oh, hello. I did not see. I mean, I saw the notification of your membership, but the chat like popped down to the bottom and it went right past it. So, welcome to new member Sam Valasek or Valasech. You'll have to explain proper pronunciation of your last name. But yes, welcome Ruffling Sam to the crew. Glad to have you. If my voice sounds a little bit rough, it's because I'm not used to talking so much. And if it sounds a little bit slurred, it's because I'm actually rather cold. I'm actually going to check the temperature at my house, but I'm not going to control it with my voice because I don't want to set off y'all's Googles. And I could say y'all because I've lived in North Carolina for 18 years, even though I'm not from here. Daryl C. says I have a soothing, calm voice. That's my preference. I don't. I find it stressful to listen to people who are just bubbly, boisterous, animated, and bing, bing, bing. If you have information to convey, even if you have witty sarcasm or bad dad jokes or whatever, I prefer to hear it in a calm, level tone. I mean, there's a time for excitement, but I like to keep it cool when I can. Plural of y'all. Y'all is a plural. You can't plural a plural. Y'all is, the plural of y'all is y'all. I tell you what, y'all may, like, it may be derided as a redneck word or whatever, but it fills a gap, a legitimate gap in the English language, because there is no proper distinct word to describe you guys, plural. There's no English word to describe that. And so we say y'all. Now, if there was a word, yuns, no. But, if there was a word to describe second person plural, then we would definitely use it. And my grammar Nazi tendencies would, would take over. But, yeah, and it's weird. Language is weird. There's just gaps, and like nobody bothers to fill them. The gas lantern core, why the long wait, may I ask? On the countdown, what is keeping them? So they called the hold at T-minus 2 minutes and change. And, you know, I'm not sure what steps they need to perform to get ready to launch again. But, you know, they set, was it 5:45 Eastern Time, 10:45 GMT as their target launch time, and they're just counting down to it. So there's always waiting involved in rocket launches or tests, because you know, it's not like in the movies where you can just hop in and go. I mean, you need to follow checklists and make sure everything is, all your systems are responsive and functioning, and that the sensor parameters are within acceptable ranges, nominal and all that. So Van Joe, how many minutes to take off? Approximately 19. Alexander Grigoriev. Hello from Mother Russia. It's minus 10 Celsius here. That is chilly. I mean, it's like, I don't know, maybe in the 40s here in North Carolina. Not in my room, but I mean, it's, you know, 68 degrees, and I'm wanting to turn up the heat. So Roger Christensen, does this rocket have humans inside? No, it does not. This is an unmanned test launch of Starship SN8 prototype, not orbital prototype. This one isn't going to orbit. Now, there were questions yesterday as to whether three Raptor engines are enough to get one of these rockets to orbit if they wanted to, and I believe it is, because I'm not sure what the mass of this vehicle is, but it's 40 feet shorter than a Falcon 9. It's fatter, but it's shorter. It's also made of different materials, you know, stainless steel versus carbon fiber and aluminum, and titanium grid fins. But it also has those 3 Raptor engines, which produce almost as much thrust as the 9 Merlin engines on a Falcon 9. Fairy Socks, if I employ bad grammar, feel free to correct me. I could not, in good conscience, be a grammar Nazi without being able to accept constructive criticism. My goal is not to get on anybody's case, but my goal is to help people recognize when their grammar is incorrect. And I understand that sometimes it's perfectly acceptable to use sloppy grammar. I'm really not a jerk about it. But I see my name popping up here. What's going on? Ross Atarusho. According to Elon, this could single stage to orbit with no payload and no fins. That makes sense. And Fairy Socks, it is aluminum in my world, in my country. Aluminium, perhaps, in the UK. I'm not sure where else calls it aluminium, but not I. Who makes the engines? Floyd Worrell. No, Floyd Worrell doesn't make the engines. Floyd Worrell is asking, who makes the engines? SpaceX does. These are SpaceX engines on a SpaceX craft. Greg is offended deeply by the wrinkly fins. Presumably their final product will not be so wrinkly, but again, we'll have to wait and see. Johnny Wad. Hi, curious what the fuel would cost for this short launch. I could, well, I don't really want
15 minutes.
to. So I don't know how much fuel they have for this particular launch. Let me see. Starship fuel capacity. Starship. Oh, cool. So on the SpaceX Starship page, they have a link to the high altitude flight test. Looking up fuel capacity. Propellant capacity 1,200 tons, or 2.6 million pounds of fuel. Overall fuel capacity. So that would include both the methane, or methane, if you will, and the liquid oxygen, or LOX. And off the top of my head, I do not recall the ratios of methane to LOX, and so I'm not sure how much methane there would be, how much of that 2.6 million pounds would be methane, and how much of it would be liquid oxygen. But what was the question again? But there you have it. Is the overall propellant capacity is 2.6 million pounds, or 1,200 tons, and however many kilograms that works out to. Eddie Crosby, is there a new ablative material underneath the rocket on the launch pad to prevent from bouncing back into the engine? That's a good question. So in past static fire tests and hops, we have seen a lot of material flying away from the mouse pad, from the launch pad during the firing. And the question is, has SpaceX taken steps to mitigate that flying material so it doesn't potentially bounce back up and into the rocket and damage the engines? I'm sure that they have done what they can. I mean, obviously, those Raptor engines are precious, and they don't want to, like the engines are probably worth way more than the rest of the ship. So, yeah, and I don't know what steps they've taken thus far, but this is just a temporary launch, stand. This is not what they're going to be launching off of in the final analysis in production. So that launch pad will have a flame trench and everything else that you're used to seeing. But MC, the ED, countdown please. We're looking at T-minus 11 minutes and 45 seconds currently. Sam's giving me a hard time for missing his support. Nope, I saw it. I just YouTube was playing tricks on me. It likes to pop the chat down to the bottom, and then I have to scroll back up and find my position so that I can answer questions. None your business. If you want to go really OG, you is the plural second person. Thou is the singular. Maybe we should adopt that as a norm. How art thou? Wherefore art thou? Romeo, in fact. Thee, thou? So at about T-minus 5 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and drop off. And maybe at about T-minus 2 minutes, I'll remove the thermal cam so that we can see the
T-minus 10 minutes.
unfettered SpaceX coverage. Alexander, can you talk about the cooperation with SpaceX and NASA? I've heard NASA is now giving SpaceX contracts. I mean, SpaceX has been a service provider for NASA for a while. They've launched many Dragon cargo modules up to the space station, the old Dragon, and now one of the new generation of Dragon vehicles, which is Dragon cargo vehicles, which is the same vehicle design as Crew Dragon, just without the with more cargo space and without the Super Draco engines. So, you know, NASA works with many partners. They give, you know, money to people, to organizations that are developing systems for NASA to use. They purchase services from various customers. You know, NASA's not currently in the business of making their own rockets, so they purchase rockets from companies like ULA and SpaceX, and even the, you know, SLS that's currently still being developed, endlessly being developed, is made of, you know, Boeing parts and other company parts. So they're in partnership with lots of different companies. Here's to Life asks, is Elon still planning to produce methane fuel in Boca Chica? I'm not sure where their fuel comes from. That it is possible, but I don't know anything about their plans for fuel production. If they do end up doing production launches from Boca Chica and not essentially shuttering Boca Chica once Starship development is complete, then it'll basically be SpaceX's space center. Space, you know, like you've got Kennedy Space Center, you've got Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, which has a bunch of launch pads. You've got the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, which is where
copy. Maritime zone is
like
clear.
Antares rockets launch from, and a couple others. And you got Vandenberg Air Force Base on the West Coast. So SpaceX would basically have their own private launch center on the Texas coast. In that case, it wouldn't at all surprise me if they built up a fuel production capability there at that site, because they're going to need a ton of fuel. Well, many tons, in fact. They're going to need lots and lots of fuel. Sam Velasek, I did mention you multiple times, and I'll mention you again, Sam Velasek. Sam Velasek. Nano earphone, Nano Teller ePhone. Do you prefer SpaceX or NASA? I mean, they're two totally different organizations. I prefer them both to nothing. Yeah. I wish them both well, and they both complement each other. Kid Mako W, how much of that is support for the rocket? Lots of room under there. So I roughly calculated that the launch stand that it's sitting on is about 25 or 26 feet tall. If you consider your ceiling is about 8 feet tall, or 7 to 8 feet tall, depending on your house. It's a pretty tall stand. I mean, it's easy to lose track of scale, but the rocket is 160 feet high, and the stand is approximately 26 feet tall. So that is a fair amount of room, but they wanted to allow room for the exhaust to be dispersed and dissipate.
T-minus 5 minutes.
Okay, so there's the call out for T-minus 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and drop off of here. Wish you well. I'll come back on after the attempt, whether it flies or does not. I will come back on after for a closeout. But until then, I wish you good launch, and cross your fingers that we actually get off the ground today. Because if they don't, that means that a third weekday will be interfered with. And SpaceX really needs to consider Ross Space's schedule when they do these things. I'm kidding. So, yeah, I'll see you after, and hopefully we have a good launch.
T-minus 2 minutes. T-minus 1 minute. T-minus 30.
Stage Bravo is go for flight.
T minus 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We have liftoff. All teams triage alarms. Rolling to a non-wing at opening 3.911 at this time.
Incredible work, team. Nice work.
Hey everybody. Holy cow. What a test. So it looked mostly successful. I don't know if the flame out of the first engine and then of the second engine were intentional in order to conserve fuel or pitch it sideways, but the descent looked great. And then that maneuver at the end, holy cow, that was nuts. And it obviously came down faster and harder than it was intended to. Landed dead center on the landing pad, but at a too high a velocity, and obviously blew up at that point. So SN8 is no more. SN8 is scattered across the landing pad, but yeah. So, here, let me switch over to LabPadre view so I can keep talking. All right. Wow. Okay, so that was dramatic as hell. You know what? Let me put a note here. All right. Whew. So Snow Kitten said I'm muted. I don't think I'm muted. I just had some audio from the other stream. Wow. So yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. I guess the main questions are, were the flameouts or the first and the second engines, we saw flames sort of envelop the skirt of Starship, and then the first engine was turned off, and then the same thing happened with the second engine. So we just had one little engine giving it all it could give, and then it pitched over, like it went from a vertical orientation all the way to like this. It wasn't even like this, it was like this, to do the belly flop maneuver, and then it belly flopped basically straight down, and we saw the little flaps moving, and then as it got near the ground, it violently pitched back into a vertical orientation, and it actually landed vertically. That's the thing. It landed vertically, which is amazing considering how really how violently that like it had to go from this to this, and that's 160 foot, you know, 160 feet of stainless steel going from this to this in just a couple of seconds, really. All done by the Raptor engine and you know what? I need to rewind that, and I might do that right here on the stream. You know what? Let me do that for you. Let's go back and take a look at that landing. 'Cause I want to see that. You know what? I'll just do a replay for you. I'll do a replay. How about that? Let's replay it, and then I can commentate live this time. All right. Okay, 5, 4, 3. Okay, so here's the launch. And it took off really slowly because, I don't know, I guess the thrust to weight ratio of the three Raptor engines to the 160 foot tall stainless steel Starship is not as high as, for example, like the Falcon 9. I don't know the mass of that thing, so I can't really say. Look at the shock diamonds, clearly visible in that blue exhaust. Beautiful thrust, or beautiful thrust from those three Raptor engines. You can see the ground receding on the upper right. Oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. Let me rewind again. I didn't switch for you.
4, 3,
There we go.
0.
Yeah, sorry. Sometimes I don't notice these things. So yes, here we see it. Launching slowly. Yeah, when I'm trying to commentate and VJ and everything else at the same time, sometimes I get a little... All right. So yes, here we see the shock diamonds, or mock diamonds, from those three Raptor engines. I like the view from from inside the Starship's skirt of the three. The three engines look really lonely there in the middle of the view from underneath the rocket. We see the coast of South Texas receding away from us in the upper right, and it just kept thrusting and kept thrusting. In the lower right view from inside the base of the rocket, you see the little landing legs. There's one on the left you see, and one on the right. I think there's a total of 6 landing legs. So the thrust is looking very consistent. The engines are gimbling a little bit. You see them sort of moving in coordination with each other. And then it almost looks like, okay, so let me rewind that. All right. So looking at the engines, okay, they gimbaled wildly, and it looks like they came detached from each other. And I don't know what that means. That did not look intentional to me. And there was the compartment there kind of filled with fuel that burned, and you can see some of the materials on the inside of the skirt burning, and that first engine was unlit. Now 2 engines remaining, but you notice the way those 2 remaining engines are gimbaling, they're not moving in precise coordination with each other, which makes me think maybe some sort of connecting mechanism between the 3 engines, because I don't know if the 3 engines are supposed to be able to gimbal independently of each other or not, but they're definitely not gimbaling. They're definitely not attached at this point. They're not in perfect synchronicity with each other. And let's see what happens with the second flame out. Ground is looking very far away in the upper right. And it's hard to tell, like, the direction that the Raptors are vectoring in, the direction they're pointed from the view in the lower right. Okay, so there we have the second flame out. So let's look at that again. So again, we have a dramatic gimbal and flames, and the second engine is cut off. I don't know. I don't know what that was about. It could have been intentional, but it certainly didn't look like it to me. Being a layman, again, I'm not a rocket engineer. So now it's tilted way over to the side with just one engine firing. Can we see on the left which engine it is? Whether it's on the near side of that tilt or the top side of that tilt. Okay. I see people saying the engine was cut off so that it would reach the correct altitude. That is possible. So here it's interesting. We're not seeing as distinct a thrust from the engine on the right side, but the engine's obviously still thrusting. We see that on the left side. So that difference in the thrust profile likely due to the altitude and the different air density up there. Okay, so there the third engine cuts out. And it begins to tilt over. You see thrusters firing on the top nose cone, pitching the nose down toward a horizontal position. And now we don't see any more attitude control thrusting, meaning that its orientation is now being controlled by those fins, which we see wiggling a little bit to there. I put a little replay indicator in the corner for you. Yes, this is a replay. And so then it just free-falled like a skydiver, straight down, using the fins to maintain its orientation. Beautiful belly flop, I must say. And I do know my belly flops. Ivan Lambert says Elon tweeted something about switching to header tanks. Maybe that has something to do with the engine flameouts. Possibly. So then it falls below this sort of cloud layer. Or something. Glare layer. I didn't see any clouds. Alright, so there, look at that pitch over. Hold on. Let me go back. So Raptor lights, how many Raptors light? 1, 2, 3, all 3 Raptors light. So the engines are not dead. And then it violently pitches over. The engines gimbal like crazy to get it into a vertical orientation. And boom. It lands very hard. Alright. So, you know what? Let me slow this down to like 50% speed. Let's slow it down all the way. It's going to be, yeah. So there's that green. What causes that green? I think somebody mentioned it to me once, but I don't remember why that looks green, but it's really green. And it was not quite vertical when it landed, and it landed way too hard. And when it did that, it just disintegrated. It ruptured the tanks, and the remaining fuel just ignited, and boom. We have big bada boom. People are saying just 2 engines were lit, not 3. Let's see. 1, 2. Oh, the near engine wasn't lit. Okay. That is so green. Why is that green? It's like a lightsaber. The green is the stuff they use to ignite the engines. Well, I guess they were trying really hard to ignite that engine because that was a lot of green. So, wow. That was incredible. T-Teb, that's what people are calling it, the T-Teb. Yeah, that rings a bell. I just forgot. Huh. Well, there you have it. The SpaceX Starship SN8 12.5 kilometer test flight. Going out with a bang. That was a very much mostly successful test. You know, remember before all of this, Elon said that he only considered there to be about a 1 in 3 chance that they would meet all of the test objectives. That is, the ascent, the belly flop, the descent, and the landing, all completely successfully. And they met most of those goals, and I'm sure they collected a lot of very valuable data. What I wonder about is there were either 1 or 2 NASA aircraft, planes, that were flying in the area, both yesterday for the abort and also today for this launch. And I don't know what sort of data or visuals they were gathering. I don't know if they were what they were doing up there, but it'd be interesting to see what those planes saw, because that would have been an amazing view from rather than just viewing it from. Wait a second. If we go back. To mid-flight. Okay, we're looking from the ground. Okay, yeah, we only had the views from the ground and from the Starship. Let's look at that landing again. Michael Bay, eat your heart out. All right. So Roger Christensen, the green flames. It's been explained that the green reaction is as a result of the T-Teb that they're using to ignite the third engine that wasn't lighting. Chris V, the green could also be the Raptor eating itself. That sounds very violent. Wolthon says during landing 1 of the 2 engines died. Did it? Okay. It looks like we're only getting thrust from. Okay, so here we have 2 engines. 2 engines. We're seeing green, boom, and right about there. If you look in the lower right, you see the back right engine is flaming out. Boom, no more right engine. So there's only 1 engine trying to land that beast. Now, I wonder if they had all 3 engines at landing, would it have succeeded? That is, the pitch over or whatever, the maneuver to orient itself vertically again, Um, was that at the correct altitude? It could have been, perhaps, if they had had all three of those engines, they would have had sufficient thrust to do their sort of suicide burn. I didn't notice the landing legs. There's just so much to look at here. Oh yeah, so the landing legs, you can see on the right side, the landing legs are still tucked up, and they're not. I like that the view from that's like the final view from the rocket is this freeze frame of explosion. Oh my gosh. I Break Things says it would have needed at least 2 engines to land. Check Elon's tweets. Yeah, I already had his. Okay, Mars, here we come. Tweets and replies. Successful ascent, switch over to header tanks, and precise flap control to landing point. And that's exactly right. They landed exactly where they were supposed to land. Fuel header tank pressure was low during the landing burn, causing touchdown velocity to be high, and RUD, Rapid Unscheduled Disassembly. But we got all the data we needed. Congrats, SpaceX team. Hell yeah. For sure. So the fuel header tank pressure was low during the landing burn. He said it was a successful ascent, switch over to header tanks, and precise flap control. He didn't say anything about any anomalies during the ascent phase. So the flaming out of those engines on ascent, I think, was part of the plan. But even though it looked a little flaky, looked a little funky from my end, they know a lot better than me. So impossible is nothing. Thanks for the heads up on Elon's tweets. Those are indeed informative. Bill Duvall, I wonder what the speed was at crash. So you can actually sort of estimate, calculate that using your knowledge that the that this Starship SN8 is approximately 160 feet tall, and calculate the rate of descent based on the proportion of you know, comparing the vehicle's height to the distance from the ground, and you could probably guesstimate the speed at which it impacted. Definitely way faster than it was supposed to, though. Stanislav says chlorine, iodine, or bromine give a green flame color. Gonzo59 says the copper is in the TEB, or the T-TEB. So that is it, folks. Yeah, there will be a ton of analysis of this by a lot of people, not only SpaceX, but other content creators. I'm sure that Scott Manley will have a deep analysis of every frame of this footage, and we can all look forward to that. He knows more about the rocketry engineering than I do, yeah. So thank you all so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed the show. It was pretty spectacular, and even though SN8 blew up at the end, it was still a very successful test. And remember, they have multiple SN iterations on the conveyor belt, on the assembly line, either ready to go or close thereto in various states of construction. Yeah, so looking forward to the next test. Until then, keep it raw, take care of yourselves, and I will see you maybe at the Delta IV Heavy launch tomorrow night, if that goes as planned. Till then, bye-bye.
can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Education is not the learning of facts but the training of the mind